People who have been cheated on by their partner, what's the most ridiculous excuse they came up with? My wife and I have been married since we were 25. We are 38 now. We met in college, got married, and everything was great. We both graduated, got good jobs, and started our lives together. We both earned good money, so finances were never an issue. My wife worked for her father's small business while I worked for a very large company. After a few years, my boss left the company unexpectedly, and they needed someone to step in. I was the only person who knew how to run the department, so I was promoted. I received a major pay increase, a better bonus, and better benefits. The works. So, at 28, I was earning roughly 3 times more than my wife. At 28, in the same year, my wife gave birth to our first daughter. Then, 2 years later, our second. Because she worked for her father, my wife had more flexibility with her schedule. About 5 years ago, my father-in-law passed away unexpectedly. That left my mother-in-law and my wife in a difficult position: sell the company or run it themselves. My mother-in-law had no idea how to manage it, so my wife stepped up and took over. After she took control of the company, it performed just as well as it had under her father. And because of that, my wife received a significant pay increase, even more than I was making. I was proud of her. Going from a regular employee to running an entire company isn't easy. However, our daughter started struggling with not seeing either of us enough. My wife and I discussed having one of us stay home. She said, "The company you work for will be fine without you. Mine could go under." I agreed, so I quit my job and became a stay-at-home dad and husband. I do everything. I make sure the girls are taken care of. I cook, clean, fix things, run errands, you name it. I even pamper my wife when she gets home from work. This went well for a while until about a year ago. My wife had always been very appreciative of what I did and genuinely loved it, but lately she has become mean. She'll say things like, "Do you do anything?" Or, "How about you work for real?" What? I work my butt off every day making sure she doesn't have to lift a finger when she gets home. And I did have a real job, but I quit to raise our daughters, take care of our home, and support her. On top of that, my wife has always been very open to intimacy, but she stopped initiating completely. Whenever I asked, she was never in the mood. It felt strange. Eventually, I stopped trying. I assumed that with the pandemic and everything else going on, she was stressed and it was catching up to her. I tried even harder to make her happy, but nothing worked. Last weekend, my oldest had a softball game. I got everything ready and we went. During the game, I wanted to record a video for my parents since they live in another state and do not get to see my daughters often. I had forgotten my phone, so I asked my wife if I could use hers. She had been glued to it all day, so I figured it would be good for her to take a break from it. She handed it to me and said she was going to get a drink and a snack. After she got up, I started recording my daughter when a notification appeared on one of her apps. I checked it, and I could not even process what I saw. My wife and a man from her workplace, who is 8 years younger than she is, were texting and sending each other pictures and videos. They were talking about how great it was the last time they did it, and then about me. He was calling me some wimp who cannot get a real job and saying, "I just take care of his woman," and my wife agreed with him. I could not believe what I was reading. I was devastated and furious at the same time. I heard my wife coming back, so I closed the app and went back to recording. On the ride home, and even after we got home, she tried to talk to me, but I was in no mood. Eventually, we went to bed, and for the first time in a while, I guess they had not met recently, she tried to initiate intimacy with me. I told her I was not in the mood. She said, "If you are going to be a bitch about everything, you can sleep on the couch." So, I got up, went to the couch, and I have been here ever since. I do not know how to move forward from this. I honestly do not even know where to start. My wife was my everything, my girls are my world, and it feels like all of that is falling apart. Story 2, I am livid. The only person I've had intimate relations with in the past 5 years is my wife. I thought I had a bladder infection or a UTI, and I even laughed when my doctor suggested it might be chlamydia. Well, here we are. I got the test results yesterday and I have chlamydia. I started snooping, and it didn't take long to find the text messages between her and her little boy toy. My guess is she doesn't even know she has it. She thinks I stayed up all night working, but she has no idea that I've already emailed her lover's wife screenshots of everything. I warned her that her husband has been sleeping with an infected woman and that she should get tested. I'm still trying to process all of this, but my wife is about to wake up to my positive test results and the receipts of her infidelity. The sun should be up in an hour or two, and that will probably mark the end of this marriage. Update. After I found out she was sleeping with a coworker, I planned to blow our marriage up that night. Thankfully, my drunken mind decided to wait. I had already gotten in contact with the coworker's wife, sent her the evidence, and told her that both cheaters probably had chlamydia. I did that because I suspected my wife was sleeping with more than one person. In her texts, her lover asked if he was the only one she was sleeping with, and she dodged the question. I know her well enough to recognize that kind of non-answer, and I knew she had someone else on the side. Luckily, the coworker's wife got back to me first thing in the morning and told me she suspected he was seeing someone else. The two of them were privately separated at the time, and their separation agreement stated that neither of them was allowed to date anyone. She already had her own suspicions and thanked me for reaching out. We agreed that she wouldn't confront her husband until I could legally cover my own self, in exchange for the evidence I had of their affair. She also confirmed that her husband didn't have chlamydia, at least not when they were still together. I decided not to confront my wife that morning. Instead, I pretended everything was perfectly fine while I looked for lawyers and dug deeper into the mystery of the chlamydia situation. I installed a keylogger on her personal computer and quickly gained access to a secret email account. And guess what? She had been talking to someone on a hookup website. The best part was that it solved the whole mystery. The guy had emailed her saying he tested positive for chlamydia and that she probably had it too. Even better, those emails were from months before I ever got infected, which means she knowingly infected me with chlamydia. Disappointed that it wasn't the chlamydia fairy causing all this, I hired a lawyer. Things aren't looking good for my soon-to-be ex. The fact that she knowingly infected me made my lawyer practically salivate, along with the mountain of proof of her infidelity. The house we live in belongs to my parents, and we've kept our finances separate since the beginning. Her chances of getting much, if anything, out of me are pretty slim. I served her the divorce papers last month. When all this started, I bought a security camera on Amazon, telling her I was planning to mount it over the front door. I actually hid it in the living room the morning I decided to confront her. I took the advice from one of the top comments on my first post for how to break the news. We were sitting at breakfast when I said, "So, I'm curious. Does coworker know you infected him with chlamydia as well?" The short of it was that she cried, apologized, tried to claim it was a one-time thing. I pointed out that it was her second affair, insisted she loved me, tried to blame me, and even screamed that I don't make her feel loved. You get the idea. I served her the divorce papers and the eviction notice right after. I'm staying with my parents until she's out of the house in a few weeks just to be safe. I'm debating whether I want to press assault charges against her for knowingly infecting me with chlamydia. As my lawyer said, it should be fairly easy to prove with the emails we have. Overall, I just want her out of my life, like the STD she is. Story 3. My wife cheated on me and said it's not her fault. This past weekend, the kiddo and I went on a 2-day camping trip for some father-son bonding time. My wife doesn't like camping at all anymore and doesn't appreciate the kiddo and me going either. It's a big hobby for me and I want to share it with my son. We usually argue a lot about my trips, especially when I ask to bring our child, but this time she was oddly cooperative about the whole thing, even though she still insisted she wouldn't join us. I was surprised, but I didn't question it because I was so excited that she was finally allowing us to go and I didn't want her to change her mind. I thought we had finally found common ground and that the arguments were ending. I was wrong. We had a great trip and returned on Monday. We expected to come home to an empty house, since my wife should have been at her office for a few more hours. I walked the kiddo up to his room because he was exhausted and ready for a nap. After that, I went into our bedroom and found a man in our bed. I recognized him as my wife's coworker, someone I had met several times at her work functions. At first, I was in disbelief and even wondered if I had walked into the wrong house. Then, my wife came out of our bathroom, and there was no doubt left. She looked petrified when she saw me. I have never been so angry. I yelled at the guy to get out of my house so I could talk to my wife. He grabbed his clothes and left. Then, we started arguing. I never yell at my wife. We always try to keep things civil for our son, but I was so hurt that I ended up shouting. My wife went straight into being defensive, saying it wasn't her fault because I'm barely around and camp too much, even though I hardly go on trips anymore because she doesn't like it. She said, "That's what drove me to do this, your neglect of this family." I was in tears at that point. I just don't understand how her cheating could be my fault. When I turned around to leave, my son was standing in the doorway, and I felt terrible for yelling. I quickly tried to console him, but my wife snapped at me again and told me to get my hands off him. Now, she won't speak to me and says I can't see my own child until I apologize. Apologize for what? She said we could go on this trip. She planned to cheat, and that destroys me. It makes me wonder if she has done this before. I'm staying with my parents right now. I don't know what to do. I want to see my son. I'm worried I really scared him. And of course I would apologize to him, just not to my wife. But maybe it really is my fault. Story 4. I was with my ex-girlfriend Vanessa for the past 5 years. We met at a convention for one of our shared hobbies and started talking purely about that hobby, with no other intentions. We eventually began dating after she confessed that she liked me as more than a friend, and the feeling was mutual. I had stayed quiet because I didn't want to risk the friendship, and I honestly didn't expect her to be interested in me. We dated steadily for about 2 years before moving in together. Our families got along well. Our friends blended into one big social circle, and everything felt easy. That surprised me because we came from very different financial backgrounds, mine being more lower to middle class, while Vanessa and her friends and family were extremely wealthy. Everything was great for the past 3 years, except for when she cheated. Vanessa cheated on me with some random guy, and honestly, I don't know why and don't really care to find out. I discovered it about a month ago when I picked up her phone to call a friend, since mine wasn't working at the time. As soon as I unlocked it, a message popped up from some guy saying he loved doing it the day before. I'll spare you the emotional turmoil I went through. I'll admit that I simply set the phone down, told her I was leaving, and didn't explain why. I could see she was confused about me walking out like that. I just didn't want to do something I'd regret because I've had anger issues in the past, even though I've worked hard to move past them. She probably realized I saw the message, but since my phone was still in the apartment, she had no way of reaching me. I walked around the city for hours until I was so exhausted I felt like I could fall asleep standing up. I went to a friend's place and stayed there for the night. The next day, I went back to our apartment and talked things through with Vanessa. I told her I wasn't going to stay in a relationship with someone who cheated, and that was it. I didn't ask for details, didn't want to know how it happened, and didn't care who the guy was. I just wanted to get away from the whole situation. She didn't take it well. She was crying hysterically, blaming herself, and even hitting herself in the head while calling herself a stupid, cheating cunt, begging me not to leave and promising she'd do anything to fix things. The whole scene made me even more uncomfortable being around her, and it escalated to the point where our neighbors came out to see what all the noise was about. I did manage to get away, but it turned into way more drama than it needed to be. She made her choice to sleep with someone else, and I made mine to end things because I'm not staying with a cheater. I got most of my things out of the apartment while she wasn't there and hoped that would be the end of it. But if it were, I wouldn't be here now. I mentioned before that Vanessa and her family are rich. She's now using her money, and I assume her family's money, to make sure I don't get a single day without some reminder of her. Either she's sending gifts to my workplace or I'm getting letters and packages in the mail. Other times she just shows up with one of her friends in places where she knows I'll be. I have no idea how she knows, and it's making me feel paranoid, like she might have someone following me, all just to force me to talk to her. I tried speaking with the local police about it, but I was basically told that her family would make sure nothing happened. Props to the officer for being honest, but they could actually do their job instead. I want to heal. I want to move on. But she won't let me, and I don't have enough money to just move somewhere else. I've blocked or ignored her on every platform I have, but she isn't even trying to reach me through those anyway. Instead, it's her friends. Every one of them. And she has plenty, keeps telling me to meet with her, to hear her out, or to give her another chance. I'm exhausted. I'm tired of all of this. I just want it to be over. I don't want to hear her voice or see her. None of that will help me. Story 5. My husband is cheating on me with my best friend. I am honestly not sure where to begin, so I guess I will just start. My husband and I have been together since I was 19 and he was 22. We have been married for 6 years now. We have 2 children, and I am 6 months pregnant with our third. 2 years ago, I found out my dad has stage 3 colon cancer. He is my only parent, as my mom passed away when I was 12. He is my favorite person. and life without him does not feel as bright. His laugh is contagious, and he gives these big bear hugs that make all of your broken pieces feel like they fit perfectly again. Whenever I have had a hard day, he never pushes or pries. He just lets me vent and listens. About 5 months ago, we learned that the treatments are not working for him, and in the doctor's exact words, it was months, not years. Since then, he has gotten progressively worse and has started losing his memory. He looked at the dog he got me for my 21st birthday and said, "Wow, that's a nice dog. Where did you get it?" My husband has been my absolute rock. He has been there for me, holding my hand and helping me through all of this. He has been so loving and attentive to both the kids and me. Do not get me wrong. I am a mother first, always. I do not allow myself to fall apart. My kids are still loved, cared for, played with, and I have not let my responsibilities at home slip. Once my dad got his updated prognosis, my husband encouraged me to quit my job. About a month later, we found out I was pregnant again, and even then, I still had not let go of my job. I kept holding on for some reason. After learning about the pregnancy, he reassured me that it was still okay to quit. And honestly, it would save us a small fortune in daycare costs anyway. So I did. I quit my job. My best friend and I have been close since we were in diapers. Her family is like my family and mine is like hers. Our moms grew up together. We have always been solid. And right after my dad's appointment, when we found out he had so little time left, I drove straight to her house and she held me while I cried for hours. If there are soulmates in friend form, she was mine. Thick as thieves is what my mom used to say. This morning, I was up with my 3-year-old because he is sick. My husband's work alarm was going off. He sets a few, so I turned that one off and gently woke him. He said he had been up late working and was taking the morning off, then rolled over and went back to sleep. As I went to turn off the rest of his alarms, I saw a text from my friend on his lock screen that said, "I am assuming, since there has not been an angry pregnant lady on my doorstep, you have not told her about us yet." Time froze in that moment. I took his phone, walked away, and read their conversations. For 4 months, this man has been sleeping with my best friend. For 4 months, they have been lying to my face. And I know what people are going to say, that I should have seen the warning signs. But I have been clutching this phone for 2 hours, and there were none. He has been so loving and attentive to me, but he always has been. So kind and gentle. There have been no late-night work excuses except once in a blue moon. No lingering touches between them. Not even glances. They have acted exactly the same as they always have since the day I introduced them. How sick is it that she calls him her brother, but she sleeps with him? I know a lot of people get a moment of clarity in situations like this, but I have none. Aside from being heartbroken over my dad, I have not changed. I am still a loving wife and mother. I still dote on him and on our children. I talk to him every single day about how he is doing and how his day was. I have not allowed the ground to swallow me whole. I know what I have to do now, but I do not want to. I'm about to lose my family and my support system in one blow. I will confront him tomorrow. Today, I just need these last 24 hours of peace. As for her, I will not give her the satisfaction of a response. I do not care why she did it. She did it, and that is that. I was always the friend who cleaned up her messes. After today, I will cut her out of my life like she never mattered at all. This has to be the hardest storm I will ever weather, but I know I will make it through. If not for myself, then for my children. Story 6. My partner and I have been together for 6 years. We live together, and we have a 5-week-old daughter. My sister and I have always had a very close relationship, especially since our parents were not always the best or most supportive figures in our lives. We clung to one another, and I would even consider myself the mother and father figure in her life. My partner's and my relationship has been fairly strained since our daughter was born. He has been staying late at work, acting dismissive when I try to talk about our feelings, and sighing or huffing whenever I tend to our daughter. I had a rough pregnancy and a traumatic birth, so my libido and overall body confidence are low. Most days, I do not feel like being intimate, and he responds with the silent treatment. But I never worried about him being unfaithful. I was feeding my daughter on the sofa tonight with my husband sitting next to me. We were both watching TV and his phone kept vibrating. I had a feeling something was off with how many notifications he was getting and how quickly he was responding. He got up to go to the bathroom, and this time, he did not take his phone with him. I grabbed it, put in the passcode, and checked who the messages were from. It was my sister. Before I even opened the messages, my heart dropped, and when I started reading them, I felt my heart in my throat. There were explicit pictures, flirty texting, and conversations about how I am not putting out like I used to, which felt like a knife to the chest. They had met about 4 times, and I realized those were the times I had taken myself to the doctor for scans and checkups, or when I was out getting groceries for my grandparents. I am beyond distraught. I have no idea what to do, where to go, or how to even begin confronting them. It feels like my whole world has come crashing down. I have lost my husband and my sister. Update. A lot has happened since I last posted. A lot came out. A lot has been said. And now, everything is on the table. I called an aunt of mine after I posted and saw some comments suggesting I should have a friend or family member nearby. I packed a bag for my baby, bottles, and everything she would need for a short stay, and took her to my aunt, who has been close by throughout my pregnancy and knows how to care for my daughter. I did not want my child in the house while I talked about this. My husband was confused and kept asking why I was packing for her and not for myself as well. I told him he would see. I texted my sister, "Come over right now." She kept asking why and called me, but I just messaged her again to get over here. It took her about 15 minutes to arrive, and in that time, my aunt came and took my daughter. My husband was getting increasingly worried. When my sister pulled up, my husband's face completely changed. The look of realization hit him, and he started crying. My sister came inside and I told her to sit down. I did exactly what everyone advised. I took pictures of the chats, her number, and all the content in the messages. I pulled it up on the smart TV and told them both to explain what the hell had been going on. I probably looked a bit unhinged, but I did not care. She started crying, and he kept saying he was sorry over and over. I told them how they had broken me, how I basically raised my sister, how I gave my husband a daughter, and this was how they repaid me. They confessed it had been happening for at least 7 months. He slept with her in our bed a couple of times, and they both insisted it was not like they were in love with each other, as if that makes it any better. I am getting a lawyer in the morning. He also admitted to kissing a coworker. I will be picking up my daughter in about an hour, and he is currently packing his things while my sister is crying and begging me not to cut her off. I am ignoring her while I write this. I can clearly see that I can only depend on myself right now, and divorce is the only option for me. I refuse to let my daughter grow up thinking men can treat her like this. He is begging me, and they are both begging me, but I am not cracking. They made their bed. They can lie in it. Update 2. The divorce is moving forward, and he has already signed the papers, but he will not come back to the house or see his daughter. My sister is a no-show too, and despite the unpopular advice I received, I did try to bridge the gap a little, but it led nowhere. I am accepting that he has simply up and run, and he will not be back anytime soon. He has been sending me some worrying messages, though. One night, at 3 in the morning, he asked if I was alone in the house. I said no, because it felt like the right answer. It was truly unsettling to be woken up by a message like that at that hour. After that, nothing. He has not asked about our daughter or even about the divorce proceedings. He just sends a "hey" now and then, but I'm keeping low contact for now and only replying when it's absolutely necessary. He has not made any real attempt at reconciliation, not that I would want that, but he is acting off. One day, he messaged me, "It's time now," and then nothing for a few days, followed by another simple "hey." There are also messages he deleted before I could see them, usually sent around 3 or 4 in the morning. You know how you can sometimes feel a person's mood or personality through their texts, especially when you've known them for years? I cannot fully explain it, but something is wrong. It feels strange, like he is a different person. My daughter and I are loving life right now and are thriving. Story 7. My father, who is 55, had an affair with my fiancé, who is 25. My mom died 4 years ago from cancer, and my fiancé and I used to go to his place for dinner. Nothing unusual, since he was lonely. Recently, though, his mood had noticeably improved, and I was about to find out why. He invited us over for dinner, and afterward they told me they needed to talk to me. It was strange, but I didn't think much of it until they sat me down. They told me they had been in a relationship for over 3 months. Like an idiot, I asked how many times, even though I was already starting to hyperventilate. They were both hesitant to answer. I eventually got the full story, though I won't write that here. It was painful enough, and I feel stupid for even asking. I walked out and left them both. I told my dad, "If you want her, you can keep her. You are both finished with me." Then I told my fiancée to give me the keys to my apartment. She was crying and struggling to get the key off her chain, so I did it for her, gave her the rest of her keys back, and told her I would pack her things. I said she could come by and pick everything up once I was done. Her mom ended up coming to get her belongings. She actually sent her mom instead of coming herself. I let her in, and she told me she had heard the full story. She apologized for everything and said she hoped I would get through this. My dad and my ex-fiancée have been texting and calling me for the past week. I haven't responded to any of it. My dad even called the cops because he was worried I might hurt myself. Oh, great. Thanks for the concern for my mental health, Dad. Maybe you should have thought of that before sleeping with my fiancé. 2 officers showed up at my door and told me they had received a call from my dad saying he was afraid I might harm myself. I told them I wasn't suicidal and explained what had happened. They both looked disgusted and apologized for bothering me and for what I was going through. Their look of pity somehow made me feel worse. I felt ashamed having to explain everything to them, even though I don't know why I felt that way. But I did. Anyway, my dad wants me to talk to him, and I have no idea what to do. I have no other family, no aunts or uncles, and now no fiancé either. I've been keeping myself busy by going to the gym and trying to live my life as normally as possible. My ex-fiancée has moved back in with her parents, but apparently she is still in contact with my dad because he keeps texting me that she is worried about me. According to him, I'm the one in the wrong for not treating her better. So yeah, apparently I'm the a-hole here. I don't even know what to do. I've clearly ended things with her, but then there's my dad trying to fix everything and pushing me to forgive her. Honestly, I just want them both to leave me alone. Update. A lot of people suggested I go public and tell everyone, but I didn't have to. My ex-fiancée took care of that herself. She told her best friend, expecting sympathy. Instead, her friend was furious, and now most of her friends and mine know exactly what happened. Her best friend called me, and we talked for over an hour. Apparently, whatever angry thoughts I had about my ex were nothing compared to what her friends said to her. They've completely cut her off, and at one point, they even asked if she had slept with any of their fathers. Her best friend also told me that my ex still thinks I'll forgive her and that she wants me back, which is not happening. She also said my ex seems unstable right now, like she's an absolute wreck. I also spoke to her parents and told them to give her some time and not kick her out. Honestly, despite what she did, I don't want her doing anything stupid. Her parents are probably even more angry at her than I am. I also met with my dad. We talked in person, and the only reason I agreed was because I needed to pick up a few things from home. I brought a friend with me in case I felt the urge to punch him. My dad didn't try to make small talk, and my friend stayed close behind me like he expected me to snap and was ready to hold me back if I did. So, that's the update. My ex-fiancée is a nervous wreck, completely abandoned by all her friends. Her best friend and I have actually become good friends. No, we're not sleeping together or anything like that. But she's been supportive, and we've kept talking on the phone. She's been cheated on before, but even she said she couldn't imagine what I've been through. Honestly, I feel okay. I've completely cut off my dad after picking up some of my mom's things, including her wedding ring. I told him I was taking it, and he didn't argue. Then I handed him my engagement ring. It wasn't expensive, and I had no idea what I would do with it anyway, and said, "You can have this." He just stared at me, and you could see the realization finally hit him about just how badly he had messed up. I also told him to stop telling my ex that I might forgive her. I said he was messing with her head, and she needed to accept that it's over. He said he wouldn't contact her again, and I told him I didn't care if he did or didn't. I got in the car, drove off, and felt a lot better. So that's the update. Maybe handing him the ring was harsh, but honestly, if he wants her, then he can marry her. Story 8. My husband of 19 years cheated on me at his work party. He had a work dinner at a local restaurant, and he ended up cheating on me with a waitress there. I found out because he appeared in the background of several photos on his colleague's social media making out with her, and people reached out to tell me. When I confronted him, he admitted he had been intimate with her. The dinner started at 5:30 in the afternoon, and he was completely sober. We've been married for 19 years, and we have a 17-year-old daughter who is currently away at university in another province. Update. I had decided to divorce him, but he tried to convince me to go to marriage counseling. I thought this was the only time he had cheated. Then he told me he had a few other one-night stands during our marriage. He couldn't even give me an exact number. That completely solidified my decision. Since our house was an inheritance from before we met, it isn't counted as marital property. I'm living with my cousin now because she needed a roommate, and it's a much better arrangement than renting a smaller apartment or living with strangers. My lawyer told me I could file for divorce based on adultery, but it would take over a year to get to court anyway. So I filed for a no-fault divorce based on a 1-year separation. It's easier to prove, and since we really only have one asset, a savings account, and there's no child or spousal support to sort out, a no-fault divorce is simpler. My lawyer also said that filing on the grounds of adultery wouldn't make any difference in how the savings account is divided. My daughter's at university about 5,700 kilometers away, and she wasn't scheduled to come home until Christmas because of the distance. If it had been possible to tell her in person, I would have. Instead, I told her over Skype. I didn't give her all the details, just that her father and I are divorcing because he was unfaithful. I didn't go into the work party or anything else he admitted to. Part of me is relieved she's so far away. She won't be dragged into the middle of this. She turns 18 next month, and her university tuition is covered by a scholarship, so at least she's financially secure and won't be here dealing with the tension. Overall, I'm doing okay. I have good days and bad ones, but I'm grateful I found out now. It's better than spending more years not knowing what he was doing. Story 9. My fiancé and I have been together for 3 years, and I love him more than anything. I know 3 years is not that long, and I have been in longer relationships, but my relationship with him has been the most serious by far, and not just because he proposed. I have never loved anyone more, and when I fell for him, it was a much stronger and more intense connection than I have ever felt in my life. I am only 26, so I know I have time to find someone else, but I am so incredibly heartbroken in ways I never imagined I could be. This is by far the worst pain I have ever felt. I do not know how it happened. This was the healthiest relationship I have ever been in, and I was so excited to get married and have our child. He does not even know I am pregnant because his birthday is next month, and I wanted to surprise him. There were none of the usual signs, like our relationship declining over the past several months. It was as if one day a switch just flipped. I first noticed something was off about 2 weeks ago when we came home from my friend's place after hanging out. He seemed distant, but I chalked it up to him being tired. Then he continued to feel a little withdrawn. I know his boss has been on his back lately about a work project. He's an engineer, and I assumed he was just stressed. These past 2 weeks, we have not been intimate either, but that is not unusual. When he is really stressed, whether it is family issues or work, he usually is not in the mood. On Friday, I went out of town to visit my sister, and I just got home today. Originally, the plan was for him to come with me, but he told me he really needed the weekend to work on his project, which I did not find suspicious at all. He knew exactly what day and time I would be coming home. Yet when I walked into our home, the kitchen had not been cleaned from what was clearly a romantic dinner. When I went to the bedroom, the sheets were a mess, and a woman's lingerie was on the floor by the door. His pants and her shoes were in the hallway, obviously taken off in a hurry on the way to our shared bedroom. Our shared bed, our shared space, our sacred place. It just seems so careless. He knew exactly what I would see and did not even bother to clean up. Did he really think I would stay? Did he really think I just would not care? He is not picking up my calls, and when I tried to text him, I realized he had blocked me. If he was interested in someone else, why did he not just say so? Why would he let me find out in the most painful way imaginable? Even worse, I know who the girl is because she left her jewelry behind, and it is someone I felt insecure about when our relationship first started. An insecurity I had gotten over as we grew stronger together. I do not know what to do. I had to leave our home, and now I am just sitting on my front lawn crying. I am too mortified to call anyone close to me, and a million thoughts are racing through my mind. What am I going to do with the baby? I cannot imagine trying to co-parent with him after a betrayal like this. Why did he do this? What changed? Did he get bored of me? Why was I not enough? Why her? Why me? What am I going to tell people? How will I ever trust someone again? Where am I going to live? Which of our mutual friends will choose him? Does this mean I cannot be friends with his sister anymore? There are so many questions and absolutely no explanations. I cannot even put into words how soul-damaged, emotionally crushed, and completely wrecked I am. I am so hurt that I cannot speak about it. I cannot even call my therapist, so now I am typing it all out because I just had to tell somebody what was happening, even if it is strangers on the internet. Story 10. I found out my wife has been cheating on me online with a young guy. She first started talking to this guy last year when he was 18 and my wife was 24. She became withdrawn and started letting a lot of things slide. She lost interest in her hobbies, the household, the kids, her friends, and me. She eventually admitted to me, in tears, that she had begun chatting with a guy from Omegle one night when she was bored. They exchanged contact details. She created a Snapchat account just for him, and he did the same, and they began talking there regularly. This guy is handsome, young, an athlete, and as fit as can be. He is funny and charming. He mesmerizes her and makes her laugh all the time. She finds herself falling for him, and she admits her mistake to me. I feel so sad and upset, but I forgive her. She promises to block him and delete the app. Things are calm for a while, but months later, I discover she still has Snapchat. She says it is for her other friends. When I push the issue, it turns out she is still talking to the guy. I am not okay with this. She says they are just friends. I tell her to block him. She says she does. Around December of last year, I discovered she had never blocked him and was still talking to him. I was furious. One day, I got into her phone and saw Snapchat, open with a message from him that said, "I love you." I scrolled up and found an explicit photo she had sent him. She had sent it to him for his birthday. Once again, she blocks the guy. I think things are fine, but I am starting to lose my feelings for my wife. Around Christmas, my oldest daughter told me excitedly that she had a phone call with Sebastian the Crab, like the friend of Ariel from The Little Mermaid. I shrugged it off. 4-year-olds make things up all the time, and she has a vivid imagination. She often insists she is a real fairy or princess and says she has magic powers and so on. I found out just yesterday that my wife never stopped talking to the guy until this past February when he suddenly ghosted her without warning. It makes sense because she was very sad and depressed around that time. She then deleted all her apps and accounts in anger and now has no way of contacting him or being contacted by him. I'm not sure I even believe that anymore, but fine. She started telling me everything, almost like she needed to get it all off her chest. I let her talk, and she admitted to everything. She said she had really fallen in love with him. She mentioned that she read a lot on Quora about polyamory. Quora is practically her Bible, and that she believes she can love multiple people at once, and that her love for me had not diminished because she loved another guy. I called that out as nonsense. Then she admitted she even had voice calls with him at night when I was away working my night shifts. Sometimes our oldest daughter would wake up, and he would talk to her too. He even sang her to sleep a few times. He pretended to be Sebastian the Crab, which is exactly what my daughter had tried to tell me. I think she was trying to tell on her mother, but I shrugged it off at the time. I am unbelievably angry that she allowed herself as a grown woman to fall for some boy on the other side of the globe. I feel completely betrayed that she showed her body to him. What makes me the most angry, though, is that he talked to my daughter. He even saw her picture and a video. He called her Little Dua, like the singer Dua Lipa, because he thought she looked like a toddler version of her. The whole thing feels so unsettling. The fact that he was just 17 when he and my wife first met online is disturbing to me. The fact that she allowed him to talk to our firstborn at all makes it even worse. It is all completely messed up. I fear she may have wanted to run off with him. She talked a lot about the place where he lives, California. and that only makes me more uneasy. I do not know what to do. I am heartbroken. My wife and I have a 4-year-old daughter, a 2-year-old daughter, and she is currently pregnant. She blamed some of her behavior on pregnancy hormones, which makes no sense to me. She also tried to subtly push polyamory on me. I feel completely done with her, but I also love our daughters and do not want them to grow up in a broken home. She has gone back to normal in some ways. She has her hobbies again, she takes care of the kids, and she manages the household like before. She can be sweet to me, and we are intimate often. But most of the time, as much as it hurts to admit it, I feel nothing. I am 27 years old. Last year, I felt like I had everything. I felt on top of the world. Now, I feel like I have already lost it. Update. I have read all the responses to my previous post, but have not had the time to respond to everyone individually. The common theme seems to be that I need to man up and take responsibility for my life, and many people have advised me to kick out my wife, seek legal counsel, and start gathering evidence. Financially, as a young father of soon-to-be 3 kids, I cannot just call up a lawyer without thinking about the consequences. We are not Americans, and we are not living in America, so I do not know which laws do or do not apply to our situation. The guy she had her emotional affair with, however, is in the States, but they have lost contact, and my wife claims she does not know his last name or exact location, only his first name. Some people suggested she might have been catfished, but she says no, because she had video calls with him, and he looked like the images he had previously sent her. My wife admitted a lot during our talk. For example, she is a singer-songwriter, or at least she tries to be, and she has written many songs over the past half year. They were passionate, romantic, loving songs. I used to be touched by them because I thought they were about me. It turns out they were not. They were about him. That devastated me. She said the whole affair inspired her. She told me how hard-working he is, how he is going to a top university, how clever and bright he is, and so on. She said she considers me lazy and not ambitious enough, that I am good with the kids and a decent provider, but not someone she sees as capable of greatness. She says she likes that I look good, and that our kids look good, and that I put so much focus on their well-being. But she told me she needs a life partner, not just a babysitter. That infuriated me, because when I take care of my kids, I am not a babysitter. I am their father. I care for them because I love them and because I am responsible for them. She admitted she often thinks about going back to her own country and living with her parents. My in-laws are well off, and my mother-in-law has plenty of time to help her. My wife is not from the same country as me. She said she would take the kids with her, follow her dreams in the city where she studied, because she thinks it would give her a better chance at success. She even said she regrets marrying me in the first place, and that she would not have done it if she had known how lazy I was. For the record, I am not lazy. I work night shifts 3 nights a week, and work during the day on several other days. On the evenings I am home, I manage to cook at least twice a week. I do the groceries, pick the kids up from school, and put them to bed regularly. I take care of the kids on the evenings when I am free so my wife can go to classes and develop herself. She is pregnant, and I massage her for up to 90 minutes at times so her back and legs will not hurt as much. I am a hero to that woman, and she does not even see it. Instead, she compares me to some guy she has never met in person, and somehow, I do not measure up because I did not go to a top school, I am not rich, and I am less ambitious. To her, that makes me lazy and useless. So now I am looking at my options. I am 27 years old. I am in decent shape, and I am not a bad-looking guy. I am a good father. I am a good provider. I am a good son and a loyal friend. I have been a good husband too, but apparently I am not good enough. Well, guess what? Neither is she. She is far from sufficient. She is far from good enough. But I never say even 1% of the hateful, negative things she says to me. Never. I have told her all of this. I told her how I feel, that I do not feel respected, that I feel like nothing, treated like nothing, tossed aside like nothing. I told her I will not keep supporting her and her dreams if this is how she wants to treat me. I also told her she is not taking the kids anywhere. If she wants to leave, she can leave, but she will do it alone. She is not yet a citizen of my country, and I reminded her of that, while our kids are. I have taken the kids' passports, and I am holding on to them as I write this. I am not letting them go. If she wants to leave, she can, but it will be just her and the unborn baby, and she will not take any of my things with her. The laptop she used to chat with him is now with me too. I bought her that laptop, and I am taking it back. I am taking back control of my life. I am still considering what steps I will take, but whatever she has planned, I am not going to just lie down and accept it. Since she told me everything, and after she heard my response, we all attended a family event together. My wife acted as if everything was fine. She has stopped saying negative things to me. She is not on her phone anymore. I still distrust her. But even though I told her where the door is, she has not left the house. I think she is backing down a bit now. Story 11. My fiancée cheated at her bachelorette party, and I am struggling to decide what to do next. We have been together for about 7 years, and we were supposed to get married next month. Before all of this happened, we never had issues with cheating or any major conflicts. This is the first time anything like this has ever happened between us. About 2 weeks ago, my fiancé approached me and asked if I would be open to us having a bachelor's and a bachelorette party. The idea made me uncomfortable. Personally, I believe these kinds of parties often encourage infidelity before marriage, and I never wanted one. I told her how I felt, but she assured me that if we did have them, it would just be friends hanging out and celebrating our upcoming wedding. Nothing like the stereotypical last night of freedom. After talking it through and setting clear boundaries, we agreed to have the parties on the same day, which ended up being this past Wednesday. When Wednesday came, my friends came over to our place for a D&D session themed around my character getting married, while my fiancée went out with her friends for a pub crawl. I was having fun with my friends until about 3 hours into the game when one of our mutual friends texted me and said we needed to talk. I immediately became concerned and asked what was going on, but she said she didn't feel comfortable discussing it over text and would rather speak in person. That completely threw me off. For the next hour, I could barely focus on anything because I kept wondering what could possibly be so serious that she needed to come over and tell me in person. By the time she arrived, my friends and I had already wrapped things up, so I was just waiting for her. She came in and asked if we could sit down and talk. That's when she told me that my fiancé had used the party as an opportunity to cheat on me. I felt like I had been punched in the chest. This was exactly what I had been afraid of when my fiancé first brought up having these parties, and she had assured me it was the furthest thing from her mind. Until that moment, I had no reason not to trust her, so I believed her. I felt so stupid for not seeing this coming. I asked if she was absolutely sure about what happened, and she showed me a video of my fiancé kissing some guy at a bar. Apparently, the video had been shared in the group chat my fiancé and her friends used to plan the party. I honestly do not know how I didn't break down right then. I felt sick to my stomach. There was the woman I planned to spend my life with, kissing another man while her friends cheered her on. This next part is based on my friend's recollection of what happened, so I do not have many details myself. Apparently, my fiancé's maid of honor spent the entire night complaining that I wouldn't let them have a traditional bachelorette party and that I was too controlling and jealous. My fiancé didn't push back. She just kept drinking and enjoying the night. At some point, some of the women noticed that she was getting attention from a few of the men at the bar, and that's when the maid of honor started encouraging her to flirt. My fiancé gave some weak resistance, but eventually she gave in and approached one of the guys. This was the point where our mutual friend became uncomfortable and left the party early. But she was still in the group chat where the video was shared. I thanked her for telling me what happened and asked her to forward me the evidence, along with anything else that might get shared with her later. After she left, I finally broke down crying. Then I texted my fiancée and told her that I knew and that the wedding was off. A few minutes later, my phone was flooded with messages from her and her friends. They even tried adding me to the group chat where they had shared the video of her kissing the other man. She got home about 30 minutes later. She was crying the moment she walked in and begged me not to call off the wedding. She kept saying she was drunk, that she didn't know what came over her, and that nothing happened beyond the kissing. She insisted she loved me. I stayed silent through all of her crying, which I think only made her more desperate. She kept apologizing, saying it would never happen again, and promising to cut off every friend who was at her party. I told her I didn't want to talk about what happened, and that the wedding was still off. I also told her she could call her friends over and have the traditional party she clearly wanted so badly because I was leaving. That made her even more desperate, and unbelievably, she tried to block the door to keep me from walking out. I stayed silent while I packed my bag, then called my sister and asked if I could stay with her for a couple of days. I've been at my sister's house for the past few days calling friends and family to tell them that the wedding is off. I haven't told anyone except my sister the reason. I just feel so humiliated. My ex has been calling and texting me every day for the past 2 days. My sister has been supporting me, but I don't know what to do next. I feel so lost. Despite everything, I still love her. Should I hear my fiancé out? Should I tell people why the wedding is off? Is there any hope for reconciliation? Story 12. Almost 3 weeks ago, a good friend of mine, Alex, and an acquaintance, Mike, came across a video of my girlfriend, Jaime, with another man. Mike found it while browsing sites and, by chance, recognized Jaime. He reached out to Alex, and together they told me about the infidelity. When they told me, I went completely numb. I couldn't respond until I saw the video, and then I ended up vomiting. I couldn't sit through even a minute of it. The fact that it was edited to jump straight into the act, with Jaime's face clearly visible, made it even worse. We drove Mike home, and Alex had the good sense to insist that I spend the night at his place instead of going back to the apartment I share with Jaime. I had no idea how things would unfold if I went home. We shared some beers, mostly in silence. Alex tried to get me to open up about how I felt about Jaime's infidelity, but I was still numb. I told him I didn't know what I felt. It was like wading through water with no thoughts beyond whatever was directly in front of me. He didn't push any further, and I eventually passed out. When I woke up, I had regained enough clarity to realize that our relationship was most likely over. I went straight home on public transport, probably brooding and looking angry. I can only imagine what the other passengers thought as I sat there looking like hell, trying to act composed. When I got home, I found her getting ready to go out. She asked where I had been and why I hadn't contacted her. I didn't bother answering and just told her we needed to talk. We sat down across from each other at the kitchen table we built from scratch at my grandfather's farm, and that random memory was enough to break the dam. A lot happened after that, harsh words, accusations, and blame on both sides. There are too many details to list, but essentially I broke down in tears and asked her how she could ruin the relationship we had worked so hard on. She looked confused and asked for an explanation. I told her and showed her the video. She cried and begged for forgiveness, but I couldn't hear any of it. After more crying and cursing, I told her we were over. That was it. She just shut down. She slumped over, closed her eyes, kept crying, but said nothing. That pulled me out of my anger, and I tried to figure out what was happening. I talked to her, nudged her gently and firmly, but there was no response. Completely unresponsive. So I guided her to our bed and laid her down. Then I went back to the kitchen and called her parents, Alice and Julio. I told them they needed to come because their daughter was having a mental breakdown. I didn't give details, only that they needed to see us and that the explanation had to be face-to-face. I shut my phone off, went back to the kitchen, and tried to make sense of what had just happened. Her parents rushed to our apartment, demanding to know what was going on. I didn't tell them about Jaime's infidelity at first, only that she needed mental help. She was lying on the bed, unresponsive, but physically okay. They couldn't get her to react either, and eventually I had to explain. I didn't want to do it without Jaime being able to speak for herself, but there was no choice. I showed them the video. They were heartbroken. I told them we had argued, that I didn't hurt her, but that she probably couldn't handle the stress and shut down. They decided to take Jaime to her university's mental health clinic. I chose not to go with them. The next day, Jaime finally woke up. She was stable and responsive. She said the video had not been consented to. Her family decided to report it to the cybercrime police. Given her fragile mental state, they didn't press her for details, but her parents were clearly ashamed and unsure what to do beyond following the psychologist's recommendation. Let Jaime rest and support her until they were sure she wouldn't break down again. She was then sent home with her parents. All of this was relayed to me by her older sister, Jackie, who tried to act as a mediator. She asked if I really intended to end the relationship. I told her I wasn't sure whether it was even salvageable. 2 days later, Jaime's parents asked me to come over for a conversation. I agreed and went the next day. Jaime's parents and her older sister were there. We went to the living room and sat down. They looked sad and exhausted, and I felt the same. Jaime would be the last topic of the conversation. First, they wanted to talk about me. They said they wanted my parents to be involved. I felt disrespected since we are all adults and my relationship with my father is tense, but I agreed. I was tired and out of my depth, and marriage had been discussed in the past after all. Finally, we talked about Hime. She was in her room, miserable and ashamed, but otherwise okay. She would stay with her parents for now, and when the police needed her, she could stay with Jackie in a hotel. They understood that I needed space. They had already submitted a report to the cybercrime office in their city, which is about 1 to 2 hours away in the suburbs. I was told I would be needed for the investigation. I explained that I wasn't the one who found the video, but that I would try to get Mike involved. They apologized on Jaime's behalf, but I told them she was the one who needed to apologize and that they shouldn't baby her. They agreed, but they asked me not to confront her right now since she might relapse. They explained the psychologist's assessment. It was described as a spontaneous nervous breakdown with no history of mental illness, most likely caused by accumulated stress from her studies and an acute stress reaction triggered by our argument. She needed rest in a safe environment. The psychologist had almost called the police on me, but her family convinced them not to. And since there were no signs of physical trauma, the matter was dropped. The discussion eventually devolved into apologies, tears, especially from Alice, and a lot of emotional noise. But they made it clear that they wanted to take responsibility for everything. The investigation, Jaime's well-being, her education, and her finances. I felt washed out by everything that had happened. 8 days later, Alice called me in the middle of the night, begging me to come see Jaime. There had been a depressive episode, a kitchen knife, and she had locked herself in the bathroom, yelling for me. It was the worst hour of my life. I'm pretty sure I almost died twice on the road getting there, and I'm grateful my country isn't developed enough to have highway cameras. I met Alice and Jackie outside the house, waiting for me. Jaime had mostly calmed down, and Julio was with her in her room. They begged me to go see her, and with how bad things looked, I rushed inside. She was a wreck, pale, exhausted, like she hadn't slept in days. The moment she saw me, she burst into tears and reached out for me. Whatever anger, exhaustion, and anxiety I had been holding onto just disappeared, and I embraced her. She kept apologizing and begging me to stay. I held her tightly and tried to calm her. She eventually fell asleep, and I took a moment to think about everything that was happening. Seeing her like this genuinely broke my heart. This is not where I ever imagined we would be, especially not during Christmas. I felt like I was losing my best friend, and the person I thought would be my partner for life. She was the one who helped me through my depression when even my own family brushed it aside. She was the one who encouraged me to keep journals to process what I was going through. It's ironic that she is the reason I can write down the details of her affair so clearly, and the reason I can describe how deeply it affected me. She is not evil. She is a beautiful, patient, and genuinely wonderful person. When I think about everything we've been through and everything we've done for each other, the list would probably be twice the length of everything I've written so far. I love her, and I was prepared to spend my life with her and face whatever came our way, and she destroyed that. I woke up before she did and went to the kitchen to have some coffee. Jackie was there and explained that Jaime had experienced episodes twice before, and this had been the worst one. The rest of us, everyone except Jaime, talked about what to do next. Alice is undergoing chemotherapy for breast cancer. Julio runs a business about 20 minutes away. Jackie's workplace is already pressuring her, and Jaime needs help. The situation was completely overwhelming, and everyone was exhausted. Jaime needed therapy. I suggested a mental institution, and that almost got my head torn off. But the reality was that no one could watch her 24 hours a day. They asked me to delay the inevitable and try to help her. There was definitely some emotional pressure, but they were desperate. Because of my attachment to her and my respect for her family, I agreed. That was where I made my mistake. I went home and talked to Mike about the investigation, and he agreed to speak with the police. I called Alex and explained everything that had been going on. He warned me that this didn't sound like the right decision, that a mental institution might be the safest option, and that I was likely going to get hurt. Even so, he said he would support whatever choice I made and told me to call if I needed him. I really do love that guy. I've already scheduled a therapy consultation for myself, and Jaime has another one set for 3 days from now in my city. I just want to take a long nap and get away from all of this.